Welcome to Chaotic Harmony. My name is John.
This is Crystal.
I'm Marc.
I'm Zoe.
We talk about the joys and the challenges of teaching music in the elementary school classroom. We share inspiration, we share struggles, we brainstorm solutions. We would love to have you join us. Welcome to Chaotic Harmony, you guys. I am here with Jonathan.
Hello.
And Sasha.
Hello.
We're here just to debrief from another episode debriefing from AOSA Conference that we just got back with. And for this episode, I wanted to focus specifically on the topic of diversity. Mm-hmm. It was a big theme this year.
Okay.
And I was grateful for it. I think it's a discussion that we need to have as music teachers. It's a hot topic in a lot of the online forums. I know all the Facebook groups are kind of blowing up for elementary music teachers with a bit of a folk song debate these days. And we've kind of discussed, do we want to tackle that on the podcast? And it's a really sticky issue.
It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to kind of focus this episode on what does AOSA say? What is the work that this wonderful organization is doing to support us as we wade through these new waters? And what were your takeaways from conference? And I wanted to start with Jonathan.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, because you attended the session where they talked, it was the diversity panel. So I wanted to start just kind of with your thoughts from that, and then we'll jump off from there.
Certainly. Well, first off, I didn't know that this was a big focus the first year. This is my first ORF conference, and so there was a bunch of new things thrown at me. So I wasn't sure what was normalized and what was new. But the diversity... Quorum, forum, I don't know what you call it. We all had different names as we were walking over to the area.
Yeah.
But it was a nice place for us to just talk and converse. There wasn't anything big. It was mostly just get to know the fact that here at AOSA we have people of color, and and we want we not just that we exist, but we're big parts of AOSA.
Yeah.
And we need to connect to make sure that we aren't just stranded islands.
Yeah. And you said that it was a packed house.
It was a small venue.
Got it. Okay.
But it was a packed house in that small venue. I don't think they really. I think they weren't sure how many people were going to show up, and the fact that there was a lot of people, both people of color, but also Caucasians as well.
Sure.
Just sharing and conversing and growing from. It was great.
That's fantastic.
I was
That is
only
really
there
cool.
for a small portion, and to talk about diversity in the Salt Lake City ORF AOSA 2019 conference. It didn't so much happen there. From there, it was great just to connect. It was really interesting. I met up with the Sacramento ORF chapter president. His name is Genesis Santos.
Shout out.
And ironically, he went to SDSU and graduated back. You're welcome to correct me, Genesis. I think it was 13.
I think it's 13.
Oh, you know him.
We overlapped 1 year.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, we just missed him.
I know of him.
Okay.
I know of Genesis.
Gotcha.
And so, but the thing is, because I graduated in 2012 in Portland Nazarene, and also a lot of my friends from high school were around that time. There's overlap, and it was cool to not just connect in a cultural way, or in an ethnic way, but also in this is one connected community, everybody.
Right. And you guys are both Filipino, so you guys.
That is correct.
Yeah,
yes.
You connected on that point, and I remember you coming back to the house after that meeting and just saying how cool it was that you were connecting with other Filipino ORF. Teachers.
Very much so.
Yeah, and finding each other. And that was a big focus in some of the sessions, too. Did you get to attend
I
any
did.
of those? Okay.
Before I jump onto that, one thing for me, I don't know for those who've actually talked to me in person or just from your engagement on the YouTubes, watching me speak in this microphone, but I'm kind of a shy person. I'm not a social bubbly person, and the big reason is because I don't know what everyone's just so different, and everyone has different toes, and it's always important to respect the toes.
Yeah, got it. As in, we don't want to step on them. I was like, toes?
No, you need to respect the toes.
I thought you said toads.
Oh, yes. Everyone has toads, believe it or not.
No,
they keep them in their pockets.
You're right. And that is, I think, one of the biggest pitfalls of all these Facebook conversations is it so easily goes to this place where we forget each other's humanity.
That's true.
And it's really close to our hearts as we record these podcasts that we want to, remain open to learn. And I think to be a good human being and also to be a good musician and a good teacher, we need to approach it with openness and
very much so.
Be aware of the toes.
But not just that. For me, because I know that it's important to be inclusive, but in the same sense, it's important to also recognize that there are cultural patterns. And the fact that I knew the cultural patterns of fellow Filipinos, I can joke, I can be friendly in that way. It was easy for me to just...
To be yourself.
To be myself, exactly.
Totally.
Even though I'm only half Filipino, I could still correlate and resonate with these individuals.
Yeah.
But back to your earlier question.
Yes.
I went to two... day 1 and day 2, I started my session off with... something of ethnic folk music, and or ethnic is the wrong. Everything's ethnic.
Is Filipino.
Well, actually, the first one was with Natasha Thurman. Shout out.
Gotcha. Shout out.
And she was using Korean folk songs.
Cool.
To teach in an or fashion.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. Sasha, you were there.
We were there. It was fantastic, and that when you asked, Cole, what were these diversity things you picked up on, I immediately thought of her session, and particularly at the end, someone asked, how do you teach this to students? And do you have any Korean students? And she teared up because for the first time in her teaching career, she had Korean students, and it was just so touching to see that. As someone who sees students who look like me every single day, it's what a treasure that is to be able to teach people who have similar
shared experience.
Yes, absolutely. It was very touching, and it was a light bulb moment for me of it's important to share and show what everyone in the school looks like, what they sing at home, what they eat at home. A lot of her session was about food, and it was fantastic to just kind of deep dive into that.
And the best part about that is that even though there are students that won't eat kimchi, like everyone can understand food.
Absolutely.
Everyone can, like, the table is where people can meet at, and the table is where people can enjoy or not enjoy the food, but at least can work around and understand the cultures of how different foods taste and why people enjoy different things. It's a reflection of the culture, essentially.
Absolutely.
And so using something as simple that people understand as food or games is what also Natasha used as well.
Yeah.
She had this dice game that Marc definitely went on Amazon, bought the dice.
Like immediately.
Yes.
Yeah, well, she was a recorder instructor for Levels this summer. And we love you, Natasha. Can we just say that? We have so many wonderful memories with you. You were such a gentle and generous recorder teacher with us, and you were perfect for us in Chula Vista. And she left us like not only Korean food when they left that we all like totally fought over, like who gets what.
We are a loving community, but when food's on the table,
bring it. Yeah.
I'll beat
Claws
you.
her out.
I'll beat you with tofu.
Yeah, that's right. Beat you with tofu. But she also introduced us to Korean Jacks, and we've had so much fun with that. And I also got to talk to Sharon Cho at Quaver.
Okay. Shout out.
We had a wonderful conversation about, she gave me a tour. We're piloting Quaver in our district, so I'm one of the schools who's giving that a pilot. So she kind of walked me through it to tell me all the wonderful things about it. And she also shared with me when we got on the topic of diversity that she was an English learner as a child, because all of us have a very high percentage of English learners. And I asked her, well, what was your language? And she said it was Korean. And I was like, oh. So she came in not speaking any and just understands firsthand what it feels like to be thrust into a classroom where you don't speak the language and it's overwhelming. But how beautiful that we get to be a safe place in music where everybody can participate.
Well,
very much so.
Yeah.
Music is universal.
Music is universal, and there are things that we can do and be aware of to make sure that it's safe. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Back to Natasha, something that I thought of, because I've tried to every year bring into the repertoire of my kids, just music of different cultures.
Yeah.
Whether it's my own, whether it's someone else's, it's always like we need to push different cultures. And one student, like, I have a cordial enough relationship that he was bold enough to ask this question, because it was a little awkward question. Like, why are we always learning music about other people? Why don't we learn? Like, why don't I learn about American music?
I love your answer.
And first my response is, well, we are. It's called,
I'm the teacher. You're the student.
Well, the ironic part is we were learning an American folk song at that moment, but the majority of the stuff we do work on is not typical from the United States American music. We learned different cultures.
Yeah.
And something that Natasha shared was I was constantly writing, because we didn't take pictures or video, but I wrote as many notes as possible so I can then reflect on it.
Right.
Something she shared in the session was, rather than learning about the greatest and the best, which is what we do a lot in music.
The greatest hits of music.
Or the best examples of the different periods.
Right. Be it currently or even be it of the greatest, of the greats, learning about Bach, learning about Beethoven, which there's a purpose.
I'm like on the edge of my seat. What did she say?
Wait and see.
I didn't even know.
But because we do focus on that, but rather than learning about the greatest and the best, here you learn about all things. You learn about all colors. And imagine
all the colors.
Imagine you had a palette of paint and you were just working with blues, and blue is a wonderful color.
Beautiful.
Don't get me wrong. But again, you're working with all the shades of blue. But what about those other things you could work with?
Right.
And why not be exposed to that? The next day, I was also went to another event with Tiffany Berry. Shout out. We do this in Chula Vista. You can join next time. This is what we do at music teacher meetings. We shout each other out.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Her session was on Philippine music.
Okay.
And I just ate it up because,
totally.
I wonder why.
I have a question about
go for
that.
it.
Was there any songs that she taught that were things you learned as a child?
Yes, and the thing is, actually,
fantastic.
I was sharing this with her later on in the Diversity Quorum AOSA Salt Lake City 2019 insert word, but
it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. My mom moved from the Philippines to the United States after my brother was born. So my brother was born in the Philippines, but we moved because of different reasons. And when she moved over here, she was getting her second bachelor's because her master's over in the Philippines was seen as trash, which is that can go and that's a podcast in and of itself.
Yeah.
But
and it will be. It needs to be. I think we've got so much ground to cover with this, but continue.
And so she tried her best to share as much Philippine culture as possible with being married to a man who is not Filipino. Who spoke a little bit Tagalog, but not a lot. And also, as my dad worked, my mom was working and also getting a bachelor's. It was just difficult to do everything. So there wasn't a lot of Philippine songs learned. And I also, unfortunately, did not learn Tagalog. But there was a song that was that my mom taught me. It's a song about the crab. Tong, 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 baki, tong, ki, tong. And there's more to it. But the thing is... apparently, Tiffany was sharing that it's not a very well-known song, so she was like, just kind of struggling with it. But when she started singing, I brightened up, and I can only imagine how the students who, whether or not they are American Korean or American Filipino or American African or American X, or if they are ex-American.
Yes.
Natasha was talking about that. She considers herself an American Korean. She's very much of the American culture, but the Korean side of her is definitely present and definitely
it's her family.
Forms who she is.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine anyone with a mixed ethnicity, and for us to sing songs of their tongue, sing songs of their culture, how much that would brighten them. Whether or not that's something they learned before, or that's something that's resonate in them, in their blood, in their genes, essentially. If it brightened
powerful.
Me up.
The songs from your childhood are so powerful.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
And the sounds of your family are very powerful. It's the first sounds you hear. Our family's been in the U.S. and for many generations at this point, but we are Scots-Irish. And I have a connection to those Celtic instruments and those sounds that just, it gets in my bones. And it just awakens me, and it's easier to sing. Yeah. And it's important to recognize all of the pieces of who you are and where you come from, and to paint with all the colors.
And I also, I don't want to get too deep into this. I think it's
a big topic.
It's a big topic, and we said earlier in the very beginning of this conversation that right now there is a big shuffle on what should we do with American folk music that is...
So much is very problematic.
That's problematic. Yeah. And I think about what you just shared, that these are songs of people's childhood, and it's understandable why people are so desire so much to keep this in their book
Right.
of American folk songs.
Right.
And that's what makes this topic so tough, which is going to be saved for another podcast.
Yes, it will.
But-
A lot of the songs that I sang with my grandmother, for instance, are no longer, recommended to be taught. And I'm glad I know that, because I think when you know better, you can do better.
Yes.
And again, we can tackle that in another podcast. But I'm learning that I need to keep the special memories with grandma, and not pass the particular songs on. So I think that you can receive those memories and treasure them with a whole lot of love, but we can do better for our children.
Definitely.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to share with Tiffany. It was really cool. Everyone had something really important to share, but during the last 5 minutes, certain presenters decided this is my time to share my last bit. And Natasha definitely shared it. I'll pull that up later. But Tiffany had one last thing she wanted to share. She said, the best teachers are not giving you knowledge. They're the ones that are helping you find your identity. And it's important that we don't just teach the song, but let it be a springboard to have the students share what they know of their culture. And I can only imagine if we only focus on just, because the Orff practice came from Austria, came from Austria, went over to here in the United States, and it stayed with a specific demographic and is now growing farther and farther. But right now, a lot of the folk songs that we use are either are very of a specific demographic. And if we only stick to those folk songs, certain students will definitely be able to springboard their identity.
Yeah.
But it's important. I just want to reiterate this. It's so important that we have a wider palette of paints, so that students can then springboard so that all students can springboard their identity.
Yes. And it's important for you as an educator to have a community of people who understand, where you come from and that you can identify with, because we all see the world so differently through these different lenses, and we need all of those perspectives at the table. All of us deserve a seat at the table, and you've got to find your people, and there's different groups of people that understand different pieces of you. So I'm so glad you were with us this year, John, and I'm so glad that I don't know, I just feel like you're blossoming in so many different ways, like as you continue to get wade deeper and deeper into the shul work. And this community is incredible.
It is.
And I want to widen the net. We all consider ourselves Orff babies. We're still learning about this. We are. But how beautiful that people have tossed us a piece of the net and say, how wide can you take it? How many more can we catch with us? I wanted to just briefly touch on something that we talked about in the president's meeting. It was the topic of how can we diversify our chapters came up, and it was just open for discussion. And a lot of people had some things to say about, postcards that they're sending out all over their counties to invite to workshops, Facebook posts. And I felt like there was a lot of joking about, we're a very estrogen-based chapter. It was kind of talked around how, I'm just going to say it, it's a white female organization.
Yes.
There's a lot of us, and that is my group. That's Sasha's group. And here we are as incoming president and vice president of the San Diego chapter, because we stepped up and said that we would do it. Thank you. But I do have mixed feelings about it. I am willing to pick up the banner and carry us forward, but I feel really strongly that it's going to be one term, because I want to set us up to widen the net. So what I shared is that we cannot expect to continue to do things the way we've been doing them and have our chapters change. Or
even move forward as the country that we live in, and and San Diego is so diverse.
Yes.
But we do
There's
not
more than
reflect
80 nationalities and unified.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we don't reflect that.
We don't.
And if you looked at our chapter, you see sprinkling, but it's not.
It doesn't look like what we want it to look like.
It doesn't look like our classrooms.
It doesn't.
It does not.
It doesn't look like our classrooms, and it doesn't even reflect our colleagues necessarily at the county level. There are plenty of white females, but I feel like Chula Vista especially, we're a pretty diverse group of educators, and I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that Lauren gathered us. I think there needs to be diversity in age and race and in so many different ways, musical styles. as many ways as we can get. And so there are a lot of music teachers doing really good work that we don't know about because we have been islands. There has been so much turbulence in music education in Southern California for so long that we have kind of scattered, and we've found places where we can thrive and do work on our own. And there are lots of movers and shakers that we haven't met yet. And so it's on us, and I'm taking this very seriously in my term as president, to find them and go into their world and say, your impact is huge. Have you heard of Orff Schulwerk? And we need your voice in order to make our organization stronger. And then it's on me to create a seat at the table. And if that means vacating my seat so that someone else can fill it and their voice can be heard, then that's what needs to happen. And I think there's a lot of fear that if you vacate your seat of power, you will lose power, but that's not how it works. If we raise each other up, we all rise together. And that is our ethos in Chula Vista. That's like Lauren's big thing. She's always saying it. Shout out, Lauren. We love you. When one wins, we all win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
I mean,
much.
an injustice to one is an injustice to all.
Right. And then, the opposite as well. An empowered one is an empowered whole. And Sasha had a really great idea when I was telling her that this is my goal. So if you want to talk about
My big project.
Yeah, she's got a big project coming up.
So something that I would really like to do, and would it be okay if there are music teachers listening in San Diego County if they reached out to the Chaotic Harmony podcast
Absolutely.
at your email?
I'd love to hear you. chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com.
So one plan that I have, and I would love help with this if anyone's willing to help, is I would like to catalog all of the elementary schools in San Diego County. So
no big deal.
No big deal. So when
NBD.
I looked, I as I was waiting to get on my plane, I just Googled classrooms in San Diego County or elementary schools in San Diego County, and on Great Schools, it said that there were 311 elementary schools in San Diego County, but I don't believe that's really an accurate number.
Is that just public?
I think it's just public.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
there's charters, there's private.
So
there's homeschool organizations.
Really more
exactly.
so.
Yeah.
So
who have their own music teachers.
Yes, they do.
absolutely, and so that's like just one number. Potentially, I'm guessing it's higher than that. So find out all the elementary schools in San Diego County. That's step one. Step two for me would be, do they have any type of music or arts integration / teacher / club? Who knows? And then from there, figure out, is it full-time paid through the district? Is it part-time paid through the district? Is it PTO funded? Is it just after school funded? And I would love to get to know those numbers and see what we're looking at. See how many music teachers there are, because how many are in your district alone?
Yeah. CMEA, you want us to write an article for a journal? We're on it. We're doing it.
And then from there, I would love to see, like, what do our teachers look like? Are they, professionally trained musicians who then decided to teach? Are they,
music ed background?
Are they
neither?
Yes. Well, there's a person in my district who has had 3 different careers, and now is a music teacher. And there's another person who was a police officer before becoming a music teacher. So
that's like Dr. Escobedo too.
Those things fascinate me because that is prior experience that they are bringing in that I will never have. I will never have the view of a different career.
Right.
The more we know, the better we can thrive together.
Yes.
So that is my goal.
What does our community actually look like right now?
Yes.
How can we gather them? How can we widen the net? How can we support them? Because, gosh, this work is hard. And it's so hard when you're alone. And I did it for 8 years alone. I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, and
I like you guys.
There's something that I think is very untapped, and that is the elementary band that is just elementary band.
Yeah.
Because I know that you have band and orchestra in Chula Vista.
Right. But it's Orphe.
Yep. And
Orphe.
Orphe.
I
Orphe.
love watching the videos of Marc working with his band.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Doing Zudio.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
so fun.
But there is a whole, group of band teachers who probably could like learn
Yeah.
and thrive with the Orff approach or
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
But just, you know, how
But they
fortunate.
won't know unless they know
Unless
about
they
it.
know about
and they
it.
give it a shot.
Yes. I
I
recently,
hear ya.
I got off the plane. I got picked up at the airport, and my boyfriend is also a music teacher, but he teaches high school marching band. And I told him, getting off that plane, you would have loved the conference because
Yeah.
movement, that's what you do in marching band.
Yes.
The musicality of it, you should take level 1 because besides recorder, but even though recorder is super important, the movement aspect of it and the musicality and how to break it down is essential to all musicians.
Yeah.
And then recorder's just fun. So, you know, then
Yeah.
we can jam together. But he,
Yes.
I've
done in an Orff process, like recorders are amazing instruments.
absolutely.
I know.
But it's
we
so
had no
musical.
idea 3 years ago.
yeah.
We were like, why are we playing these death sticks? And then we were like, oh,
I don't know about you. I've always loved recorder.
good for you. I didn't
I
understand it until
love-
I
level.
loved solo
recorder.
recorder. Once you got into the classroom, it was
God.
a nightmare.
Oh,
I taught it
it's so
once
much
without
fun.
Orff, and it was awful. And so
Right.
I'm
it's
still recovering.
You're like crawling through the woods, and then all of a sudden there's a
Yes.
path, and this path
Yeah.
works. It's weird how the path works.
the path works. And you know what it has done for me is I have spent almost my entire adult life not feeling like I truly belonged in the music world because I wasn't the right style. I did not understand writing notation. I could read music. I could improvise on my saxophone in jazz band. That was my favorite thing. And when I learned how to scat, I loved improvising. But I was kind of a weirdo in that most people hated improvising. I loved it. And I did not value that was generating creative ideas, that it was like composing on the fly. I didn't understand that. And so I got into college and I struggled so much in theory for so many reasons. And I have a few things going on mentally that, I'll just say it. I have ADHD and a little dyslexia. It makes like writing music
Cleft
a
dyslexia.
little hard. What?
Cleft dyslexia.
Yeah. No, but for real though, it's hard. And I remember turning in a music theory piece it was a test, and I had like a little test anxiety. Everything was upside down and backwards. And my professor was like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Oh God."
I'm not sure.
I was writing retrograde, inversion.
You
Don't you see it?
I am keeping it real right here, and I'm being real vulnerable. Like when it comes to music theory, it has been hard. But what Orff has done has shown me that my ideas are valuable, and I can write music, and
Absolutely.
it doesn't have to be hard. There is a process, and it just unlocks it. So I'm very grateful for it, and it unlocks anybody's musical ideas.
Yes.
And so we need to open it up to as many people as possible. Guys, we could make this episode 2 hours long.
We could if we wanted to.
we will not do that this time, but we will continue it.
Something I wanted to share,
Yes.
because I was there when you guys were talking about just doing a one-term
Yeah.
presidency.
Yeah.
And as someone who respects both of you deeply, it really kind of shook me a little bit because I was a little, oh man, these people have a lot of great ideas, and for Crystal to step down, someone else to take up. I don't know how I feel about that. What would happen if something, if the direction goes a different way? Like everyone has their own ideas, but going back to Carl
That's
Orff's
fear.
I know that's fear, and that's
We're not going to listen to it.
and that's well, I think fears are important, but we need to use fears to reflect and then question, are these fears legitimate or not?
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing is this fear is a legitimate one, but if we want to take the Orff method seriously, we need to approach this like a wildflower. Because
Absolutely.
it has to be given to someone else.
Right.
Because
It
your term
does.
will eventually end up.
It will.
No matter if it's 1 term or 2 terms. And do you want to be the person that sets the standard, or do you want to be the person that tries to hold on too long?
Well, and I recognize that I am part of the group that holds the power. And so it is my job to pull someone else up.
Absolutely.
So if I do my job right, it won't be a problem. Then I'm
And-
serving 1 term.
And if our community does it right, we will
Right.
help each other out.
I want to end this discussion with something that we dug up. So like I said, we're all Orff babies, and our chapter's gone through an interesting revolution lately. Okay, that's a Chula Vista thing. That's our air horn sound whenever
Yes.
anything is good.
And
Shout out to Hands.
Thank you, Hands.
Victoria.
I know. Yeah, and it's now spreading to new friends we made at
that's
conference.
great.
So
Good.
it's so dumb, but it's so great. So here is a letter from our president that I have not had the pleasure of meeting because she was gone by the time we showed up. San Diego hosted the ORF conference 2 years before any of us knew what ORF Schulwerk was, and it just like grieves us that we were in town and we were doing work in this, and we had no idea who these amazing people were and what they were doing. We had no idea.
I was there.
Yo, you were.
I monitored.
I speak for us.
It's okay. No, I monitored, and it counted as in my undergrad we had to do X amount of conference hours. So I went and I monitored, and it was incredible. And I think this is part of the little seeds that I just...
Which is how you knew to take levels.
Which is how I knew to take levels.
And she found us Chula Vistans.
But it was... I only was there for one day, and I monitored, I think, 3 sessions, but holy cow.
It's amazing,
It was incredible, and I just had no idea. I had no idea. I felt so robbed.
But I have to say that was the year that I felt that I had this very strong premonition that the work at the school I was at was done. And it started in November. So I can't help but feel like I got the ORF vibes. So
it flew into San Diego.
I received them. It did. And so anyway, after the conference, our current president sent out the following letter. I'm going to read some excerpts.
She is the expert in reading excerpts.
Yes. So our chapter was founded in 1977 and officially became a chapter in 1979. So this is our 40th year. It's a big deal. Shout out. So she says, welcome to our 40th anniversary year, talking about when it was chartered. Learning from the past, looking to the future. And then, so she goes on to say that 2015-16 was a truly historic year for SDAOSA for hosting the national conference. The theme was Waves into Learning. And many people who were in the chapter at the time were there. But what she goes on to say is, beginning with our original charter as an official AOSA chapter, she acknowledges that 1979 is our 40th year, and they set out to compile a history of the evolution of our chapter. And then she talks about where they came from and all the brilliant creative people who kept this chapter alive for as long as they did. Then she says the face of SDAOSA is in a season of change. Many past members and leaders are now officially in retirement or will be in the near future. The chapter's future will depend on the willingness of the next generation of members to continue the tradition of serving in both small and large capacities. We ask that all carefully consider ways you can contribute as lives and circumstances allow, because it was time for her to step down and let somebody else take over. And when we read that, we all just felt chills. We didn't know this person, and we didn't know many of the past members because they all retired in a huge wave right after that last conference ended. And I know it was a struggle for that chapter to pull off the conference because of how small they were and because so many of them were close to retirement. But they so wanted to see the work continue, and it went through about 1.5 to 2 years of them barely hanging on by a thread, and then all of a sudden, all 30 of us who took level 1 invaded and took over. And how beautiful is that we get to continue this work, and it's up to us to take the foundation that they started and carry it on. So onward and upward. The theme was ORF elevated. Time to level up.
Level up.
Thank
Shout
you
out
very
to
much.
Drew Bullington. Shout out.
Shout out. So thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this work with me, you guys. Hey, before I move on, I think we have a spiccato from Sasha.
So this is like a little djembe-esque drum. My mother brought it from a trip she went on, but I can't recall where. And so for me, I'll let you look at it. Does anyone want to go first with our spiccato?
Do you have an idea, John?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Would you like to hold it?
Yes, I can feel the essence. I don't need to
Feel
take it
the
weird.
essence of this cute little djembe.
I mean, the obvious thing is you could play the beat.
Yeah. Try to keep a steady beat.
It doesn't have a terrible sound.
It
No,
doesn't.
it's
It actually got a nice little sound. I wouldn't expect a percussionist to have something that sounded bad. Oh.
It sounds better when John plays it.
It's nice that it's not too loud, too, so you can give it to the kid who needs to, calm down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, we can tap the bottom.
Can you blow into it?
Of course you can.
My flute skills, I think, is a little too big of a diameter.
Jonathan is a flautist.
Ugh.
Is it
Mistakes
dusty?
were made.
I'm so sorry.
Mistakes were made. Okay.
It sits. So this in my house sits with the instruments that I have gathered from when I have traveled to other countries.
I really like this.
Even
a
though
lot.
that I'm pretty sure my mother brought it to me, so I don't know where it's from.
I would use this in kindergarten as like a pre-instrument, before I gave them one. The best listener gets to hold it. I'm a fan of that. I have all of my little stuffed friends who do that. So the best listener or the best singer gets to hold Fortissimo Frog, and they love it. Or Mozart the cow. Mozart. So this, it's just another little thing, just a fun thing. Oh my gosh, he gets to be the first one to hold the instrument. How fun is that? Maybe if everybody else has rhythm sticks, would you like to play the drum? So that would be good. That's a nice little reinforcement. It's what I would do.
John, what would you do?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you said what you would do.
No, I didn't. I was just feeling the essence,
Essence.
Yeah. I think similar to Crystal, the whole idea of it being the visual representation of it of a soloist. So you give it just to a student. Maybe that student would hold it and then do a movement by themselves, and then everyone's kind of maybe use it for shadowing, and then they pass it to somebody else as a tangible visual representation instead of just pointing do this.
Well, and I think kids are such visual. When you see who is supposed to have it, it makes such a big difference. And I will listen to that person. Are you pointing to me? Are you pointing to Crystal?
And also sense of ownership as well, because that's a tangible item.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If it's got a nice texture. How do you use it?
Okay, so I went to a handful of drumming sessions at conference, and I was very inspired by how drums are part of most musical traditions, and I would bring it in and I've been wanting to do this with my 5th graders, a project on the music that they've grown up with or their parents grew up with, and where they would research it, bring it in, and present it, like 10 minutes maybe. So for me, it would be, I would say, this is a drum that traditionally comes from Africa, but there are many drums that looks very similar that come from different parts of the world. And for me, this would not be a drum that I would say would represent where my family is from, but it's just like a visual. And so I would want them to go home and research a type of percussive instrument that comes from the music that their families listen to or goes with their culture.
Love it. So it's a little prop.
A little prop.
Cute.
But I have used it in the past. There's always that one child that just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So one. This is what they get to play.
Yeah. I like it. It's quiet.
Because it's quiet. It's quiet.
Yes.
And I do this with everything. So I use pipe cleaners for like recorder or the mallets.
Okay.
What else do there's just that one kid, and I don't
You're
want
either going to pay attention or you get this.
Yes, but then there's some kids who can't. They just cannot sit still, and I still want them to participate. And there's times when I say you get to play air drum, or you get to play air recorder, or you get to play the glockenspiel with your fingers. But I've noticed that doesn't help them focus. If they still have something tangible to hold on to, it helps them to.
It grounds them.
It does.
Yeah.
So this is more of a. You played when you weren't supposed to.
Here's your instrument. I think it's brilliant.
Yes, it helps. It helps, and I hate taking away instruments. It kills me. But
I know. You never want to humiliate someone.
Sometimes you gotta.
Thanks for sharing that, Sasha.
You're welcome.
All right, and we do have.
But before we go to our round of the week, quick left turn. To those listening and also those viewing, thank you so much for helping support us. It helps us a lot if you'd be willing to go even farther and go on iTunes or any, mainly iTunes actually, just iTunes. Give us a review, that'd be wonderful. That way we can help expand this community to a wider audience and just that everyone can start sharing. So not just you, but also other people that you don't know. It just gives us visibility pretty much. So if you could... give us a review, that'd be great. Also, please follow us on YouTube. That'll be helpful very much. So once again, for the visibility. Thanks, guys.
Well, guys, we're going to do a round of the week. Round of the week. But it's not really a round of the week. So in the spirit of me putting myself out there and starting to share my own musical ideas, I am going to share our theme song today that we jammed on. So it is a tune that I use every day in kindergarten, but I have not valued my own ideas enough to give them to other music teachers. So here it is, guys. This is me putting myself out there. So it's a tune that popped into my head when I was driving home from an ORF meeting in Northern California. It was a long drive and I was full of music. And so it just kind of came out. And I use it with kindergarten because a lot of my I have a lot of very young kindergartners this year. Over half of them didn't go to preschool. And a lot of them were still 4. And so walking all the way across campus to the room took forever. And then it just didn't feel safe for them. So lots of criers. So I felt very strongly, I need to make music feel safe. I need to make it safe from the minute they walk into the door. So how can we walk into the door and have it be like, yay, we're in the music room? So this little tune just popped into my head. It's not really round, but it'll work.
Let's do it.
All right, so it goes like this. It goes, welcome to the music room. Clap, 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 clap. Welcome to the music room. Welcome to the music room. It's time to play. And then we go, we can use our bodies, dance, 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 dance. We can use our bodies, dance, dance. They really get into it. We can use our bodies, dance, 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 dance. It's time to dance. We can use our voices. And they go, la, 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 la. We can use our voices, la, 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 la. We can use our voices, la, 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 la. It's time to sing.
It's time to sing.
Yes, and they do echo it. So let's try Welcome to the Music Room, and we'll end on that. Let's do that real quick.
I think it's important to point out that your kindergartners can sing those low notes.
They can. Well, I mean, yeah, we play with our high voices and low voices.
Yes.
Welcome to the music room.
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 It's time to play.
It's time to play.
There you go. And then we all hold hands and crisscross applesauce. And it just kind of instantly solved a little problem for me. So there you go.
I'm gonna steal
By
it.
Crystal Pridmore. Steal it. Have fun. Thanks for listening, you guys. Know that we are doing this work together. If you have ideas for us, we are open and receptive. We need your voice, all of you. So help us do better. Help us know better. Help us do better. And we would love to hear from you. So email us, chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com.
Yes.
Follow me on Twitter at FinnyVappa.
You can follow me at Mr. Seligman, SMRSELIGMAN.
You can follow me at Miss Stone, MSSTONE music.
And hey, let's set the world on fire. What do you say?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Bring it.
Just make sure we clean up afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
The Chaotic Harmony podcast is a joint project between Crystal Pridmore, Jonathan Seligman, Zoe Kumagai, and Marc Keehmer. You can find us online at chaoticharmonyclassroom.com. You can email us at chaoticharmonyclassroom@gmail.com and let us know what you think. Give us feedback about what you would like to hear in future episodes. We're on all the socials. Find us on facebook.com/chaoticharmonyclassroom. You can find us on Twitter at @CHClassroom, Instagram at chaoticharmonyclassroom, and you can even find our episodes on YouTube. Chaotic Harmony is the name of our channel. Special thanks to Brian Pridmore for his help with production and equipment. www.pridmoria.com.